All right, in this video, we're going to talk about recommendations. We're going to talk about developing, presenting, and implementing recommendations. So the first thing to do is to develop sufficient alternatives to consider for recommendations to meet a client's needs and goals. And so when we're doing this, remember, we've already done our analysis. We've considered different alternatives. This has led us to a path of what we feel like would be suitable options for our client. Now what we're really doing is narrowing down those suitable options to the set of recommendations across goals that we feel like will be best to help the client reach their objectives. Now, what we're probably going to end up with here is multiple recommendation alternatives for each goal. But in the next phase, when we see presenting recommendations, ultimately we're going to be making a presentation for one recommendation per goal. And so we want to be direct and we want to be concise with our client. Remember, our clients are more likely than not paying us to tell them what to do. And so if we come back to our client and say, you could do this or you could do that, this is also a good alternative, it leaves the client oftentimes confused and likely reduces the probability that they're going to implement actions that would be best in their pursuit of their objectives. So in this phase, we're narrowing down recommendations to what we believe is the single best set of recommendations across all goals. And then we'll present those recommendations to the client. We're going to present these and communicate recommendations in a clear and concise way. Ultimately, we want the client to understand what we're telling them to do and why they're telling them to do this. One powerful thing that we've learned from the psychology of financial planning is that when someone can picture recommendations in the context of their lives, then it's much more likely that they're to take action on those recommendations, right? In other words, they can picture the benefit of doing what you're telling them to do. And this is a product of being clear, direct, and concise in the presentation of the recommendations that we decide on from the previous step. And then last but not least, when it comes to recommendations, we have to implement these recommendations. I'll never forget, I was in fourth grade and my teacher said, hey, listen, we're going to work on the writing component of the state of Texas standardized test for the fourth grade. And there were all different types of essays that could have come up. But that day we were practicing descriptive essays. And the descriptive essay that we were to work on was teach an alien how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I think when we got this assignment, it was right before recess or something like that. And I thought, this is going to be easy. And so I probably wrote something to the effect of get some bread, get some peanut butter, get some jelly, get a spoon, spread the peanut butter on the bread, spread the jelly on the bread, put the bread together and eat it, which is perfectly sufficient for someone who is an expert in making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But remember, this is an alien. I got my feedback, I'll never forget it, on that paper. And it was something to the effect, if you want to pass fourth grade, you better do a better job than this in writing a descriptive essay. And so I always like to equate that to providing an implementation plan for recommendations to our client. Our clients aren't aliens, but they're certainly not the experts that we are in dealing with the strategies, the products, the services, and the other components that might go along with a specific recommendation. And so when you're making recommendations, first things first, you have to get the client's agreement with the recommendation and the implementation plan that is to follow, right? You understand the recommendation, you understand what needs to be done to implement this recommendation. Are you on board? Are we together on this deal? And once we get that consent, then we can go in and really break down how we're going to kick this into action. Okay. And so a division of responsibilities between the client and planner is always going to be an effective part of this process. And then just detailed, prioritized, deadlined steps will be most effective. All right, well, that is a short presentation on recommendations as part of the financial planning process. Just so you know, we're going to work a little bit with recommendations in some of our future assignments. And so we're not just leaving this where it's at. This will be something that we continue to come back to and work on as we develop our skills in this part of the final financial planning process.